Hello, everyone. My name is Tooways Asma. Welcome to another episode of Tooways to Skin a Cat, a show where we talk career experiences, entrepreneurship, and investments. The main aim is to show that there's more than one way to be successful other than just climbing the corporate ladder. We are live on LinkedIn and YouTube, and the show will be available on podcast by tomorrow. For those listening on Apple Podcast or Spotify, please leave a rating for the podcast. Now, if you're watching us live, drop a one in the comments so that we know we're not talking to ourselves, and drop a two in the comments if you're watching the recording. My guest for this week is Godfrey Williams, a tax technology specialist. He's a seasoned tax manager and he holds a CIMA qualification. And also, somewhere in there is also an MBA. It seems that way, but he will tell us. I want to know why he's hiding it. Godfrey, thanks so much for joining me today.
Anyways, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate the time. I don't like talking about myself, but I think there might be some value in for some other people. And I hope I can add some value to some of you. If there are any students out there that feel despondent, I've been there.
Great. So today we're making an exception. Yes. So yeah.
Pardon?
I say today we're making an exception in terms of talking about yourself. Tell us a story. Where do you come from? And even outside of work, who is Godfrey Williams? Give us the backstory.
So I'm going to answer the first question that you asked me first. Yes, I am busy with my MBA. About 6 months from being done, hoping to get it done. But the dissertation process, hey, it's a lonely journey. Anybody that's ever done a master's or any dissertation, yeah, it's a lonely journey. So a little bit backstory of Godfrey. I come from Makassar, back in Cape Town, very small little town out just outside of Somerset West. Actually seen part of Somerset West. I was a very, very average student at school. Very average student at school. I had a sister who I always used to benchmark. Always, you might even know my sister. I think you guys were in class together. Gail Williams. Does it ring a bell?
But I'll need to look.
So I had a sister that did very well at school, exceptionally well. And my mother, obviously, always, mothers always try to. My mom was a single mother and she tried to benchmark me according to this perfect specimen of a sister that I had, where I was completely the opposite. I did my standard 8. I was in grade 10 for the younger guys. I was 7th in my class, and I think that was probably the best I've ever done at high school. After that, I went on to grade 9, grade 10, standard 10, grade 12. Sorry, standard 10. I had a little bit of a dip in my studies, and I actually flunked maths, and I still made it. So if you ever think that you are not making it, the story gets worse. Please believe. I flunked maths, and I was passed. I did maths higher grade, and I passed maths like on standard grade or lower grade or something ridiculous, but eventually just pulling me through. I was fortunate enough. So I got in it. After that, I went into the spiritual fast. And God really pulled me through. My story is called Grace and Grit, by the way. If I can ever call my story anything, it's Grace. After that, I did a bridging course at Stellenbosch University. That was 2005, called Schematis. There was quite a few of there was 3 of my classmates that came with me from Gordon High School over to also do Schematis. The one went on to fully complete his CA designation. Very proud of my friend, Hussein Parker. Well done, bud. And then I started university, and actually schematics I did quite well. I must compliment myself there. There was also a time that I shined out a little bit. Then I continued to move on to Stellenbosch University. First year was great. Second year was also good. Third year was okay until the very last semester, very last quarter, and I just flunked everything. I did not make prep for audit, and I think my complete heart just sank. And after that, I just flunked everything. It's the first time at university level that I failed anything badly, and I was just completely depleted. Afterwards, I retried, and the university was probably a bit shocked because I didn't do that bad at university. So now all of a sudden I'm failing everything, and previously I'd never failed anything, and they gave me a second opportunity, told me to go see a psychologist, which I probably didn't even take serious at that time. And I just flunked everything again. I was just in an emotional low. I think it was the lowest I've been emotionally at that point. Went on and I started doing articles, hoping to finish my degree while I'm doing articles. It was not as easy as I thought it would be, and I ended up just abandoning my degree altogether. After a few years, I didn't realize that there was like a time frame that you've got to do it in. When I eventually wanted to finish it, Stellenbosch just said, "Sorry, sir." And all the while, my sister is just climbing the ladder, and I'm looking at my friends going and doing fantastic things, and life is just feeling a little bit stuck. I ended up changing my articles from CIMA articles to CIPA articles so that I don't have to do the full 5 years and just had to do the 3 years. And I think anybody that did the CA route knows that CIPA articles for 5 years, articles are crap. I think I earned like 3,000 Rand for the entire 3 years that I pulled through.
Wow, that's painful. Sure.
That was basically my traveling money to work and back. So I was like, no, I'm not doing this. Moved over to CIPA articles, and I actually moved whilst swapping over to CIPA articles. I fell in love with tax. I really fell in love with tax because the core was of CIPA, and I think maybe I might look at it all as all the negatives that built up, but I think it was deep down was God ordained, God destined that if I might have finished the cycle route as I would have, I might not have turned out to be the person that I am today. I might not have fallen in love with tax. I might not even be where I am today. So I honestly thank God for all of the experiences that happened and transpired in my life. So fell in love with tax at a very small firm called Cathy Mann and Associates, and it was just amazing. You do everything right up from getting your hands dirty to capturing the invoices to doing financial statements, doing the actual tax returns and the VAT returns, everything. And the reason why I fell in love with tax was you can see a tangible benefit you bring to any organization. Every business and organization that you deal with wants you, because you can, by structuring the tax correctly, you can actually save them money right now. And you can bring, like, I saved articles during my cyber articles. There was one company a travel company that I saved 400,000 for, which was in my mind mind-blowing. It was really, and it felt amazing to be adding value to an organization of that size. Um, Post articles, there my journey started. Now, um, I've finished articles. I'm employed as a tax compliance officer slash manager at a agricultural firm based in Stellenbosch. And I also had a lot of fun because I got involved in meeting SARS and again saving the company millions of rands. And so this is just building, this feeling is just building inside of me. And all at the same time, I don't have a degree. So now it feels like you are career-wise progressing and you are gaining experience and gaining knowledge, but studies has me stuck. And that's when I found a course through the tax faculty called the tax technician route, which would put me on a diploma at least for my tax technician, to kind of at least have a accreditation of that I'm capable of doing these tax things that I say I can do. So did that in back in Cape Town. Then I moved, but then I paused that and I decided I want to move up to Johannesburg because the bright lights, beautiful cities, yeah, and also that little bit of what is the word? Being away from family and the family ties and all of those kind of things that's always clinging on to you. So I moved to Johannesburg and I ended up at this one small security, not entirely small, but a medium-sized security company that joined them as a senior accountant. After after a while, I was promoted to financial manager, and then as a FM moved out, and then because they went through a restructuring, I was completely involved, getting my hands dirty in a similar way as a CFO, financial director, kind of would do, being in contact with a CEO on a daily basis and being in every strat session and like going for it. It was the most amazing experience for me, and all the while still not having a degree. Really, God is just working in the background. But the company restructured. I met my wife and I decided I wanted something more stable and more sturdy that can actually help me build a career and not just kind of my wife is very structured and also got me into the structured way of doing things, which I really appreciate. And I then moved from that role accidentally. They were supposed to move me to a sales role in the ERP, in an ERP business, and they accidentally interviewed me for the for ERP consultant. I did not even know what an ERP consultant was in 2018 when I joined, and I was like, I don't understand what I'm doing, but let me just do this. I'm earning a salary, and while I'm earning the salary, while I had this job, I I wanted to upgrade. Now I've got the NQF6 in as a tax technician, but I went to read up and I saw that there's something like a tax advisor or tax professional back in the day that they had available, also on tax faculty. Um, but it was during the transition period in my life, and I didn't have money, and I picked up so they assigned a mentor to me. They assigned a mentor to me called Annelie Lager. And boy, was this woman pivotal. I can't, the English is eluding me now, but
Yeah.
thank you. But she was life changing in my life. She kind of took me from where I was all the way to and saying, listen here, we've got sponsorships for you, just push through, and if you are going to pass, we will continue to just support you through the journey. And I then miraculously ended up second in the entire essay, which was
Well
also
done.
mind blowing for me. Got the tax advisor, and the whole, somehow in all of this mess, I got very much involved with the South African Institute of Taxation. And they kind of adopted me, or what I see always is they adopted me. I tend to say that I was their little adoptee. I then started doing marking for them, webinars for them, and stuff. And I'm in a ERP role, still not understanding it. Got to my next, was then poached by another company, that Synergy, that also wanted me as an ERP consultant. There I fully understood, okay, there's a lot of CAs that's actually doing ERP consulting. So if you are a CA and you're actually looking to navigate into the technology space, the ERP space, I want to tell you, the ERP space is a good place to start, because you work with accounting, and you work with the FMs, the FTs, and you kind of structure the accounting package in such a manner that it's going to be compliant and that's going to be beneficial for the company. So there I actually found a passion for the whole ERP space and the technology space. Then after that, I was retrenched. I started my own thing for 6 months, which I found like, this is not for me. I don't like this whole thing. Moved over to a contract role at Heineken, which was my first big corporate, and this was, wow, mind-blowing for me. Loved it there. And after the 6-month contract, I had to move on I got an opportunity to move to work at Afgri, which was my last role before my most recent move. My most recent move has been to multi-choice on a contract through Deloitte. Bit scary, and this was only 3 days ago that I started here. Loved every moment at Afgri, and yeah, great bunch of people there. That is my journey. At home, I've got a loving wife and 2 kids, and trying to juggle studies with 2 kids is, yeah, it's not for the faint at heart. And yeah, back at the ranch in my spare time, I still do some talks on behalf of SITE. I'm going to be presenting at the Tax Indaba soon, on the 11th of September. So yeah, that's the big things happening in my life. But other than that, I'm trying to run like you, but I know I will never be able to be as fit as you in my entire life ever again.
I'm trying to get back there, but it's a problem. Once you get to a certain level, it's definitely a problem. But I mean, you gave us a good explanation of how you got into tax, and it almost haphazardly got into tax. For someone who's new, who's maybe a graduate or still in varsity or even doing the articles, what are the opportunities for graduates who are specifically interested in tax? Maybe they don't want to go the CA route, or what is the option that you would recommend, or options?
So the best option that I would recommend is start by doing your tax advisor, going the tax advisor route. I myself also qualified tax advisor, and it's in the past, it's a fairly young designation, but it's starting to get on the radar of all the big companies, and more of the tax advisors are kind of climbing the ranks. So now they see the value that they have gained through this process. And I think you would also know, you'd probably also want to hire a CA, because you know what a CA can do, and you in a similar sense. So the tax advisors, as they are climbing the ranks, they are looking for more tax advisors to also pick up on their way up. So it's a highly desirable designation, and the training that you get there is your practical training, from completing a tax return all the way to doing a dispute all the way to writing opinions. You get all of that exposure, and it's an amazing process.
Okay. Okay. Do you think there's a certain personality type that's more suited to the tax profession, or is there something that people
No.
should be good at?
I think if you're a good accountant, if you like the numbers, you should be quite good at tax. The On the tax side, if I can, tax is always, I always see it as more of a prestigious, a small little community that it's like the small little community, and everybody at this point, most of us know each other. So if I go to Plascon, I know the tax manager there. If I go to wherever most of us, it's a very, very small community. So quite nice to get involved in. And if you want to get involved in the tax, there's one thing I want to mention is, so when we study, we always see this massive legislations that we have to study. But when you're doing the practical tax, and as you'd also know, it's not like that. It's not, yes, you've got to know the practical, the legislation, but it's got to be in the back of your mind. It doesn't need to always be right on top, and you shouldn't need to recite Section 11A or Section 11O or all of these kind of funny things. You should just have it in the back of your mind, and you should be patient with yourself. And as you go along and grow along, you gain the experience. It's something that you should just be patient. I would recommend, if you really want to pursue this, and you feel like you don't want to focus on all the different spheres of accounting, and you feel like you just want to maybe focus on one aspect, and tax might appeal to you, it's a good place to go. There's always going to be, I believe, so on the talks I always do for site, I say that the only two things in life that's certain is death and taxes. And it's quite, the salaries are quite favorable as well. So I would recommend I would recommend as many of you that want to join should join the profession.
Okay. For the audience, we'll be responding to your questions towards the end. So please add your questions to the comment section now so that we don't miss them. I see one or two questions have started coming in. You chatted about your tax journey. Talk to us a little bit more now about your CIMA and your MBA experience and what the benefits of them were. I know you're not completely finished with MBA, but talk to us about CIMA and MBA and see. Let's go.
Because I think when you go into tax, your mind always think of loopholes, right? So when I started this, my CA journey, I saw the loophole coming in from the CIMA side. I'm just blatantly honest that you can convert from CIMA to CA and then just get that path. And that's basically the reason why I finished the CIMA. The CIMA I did in about less than a year in total for me. So, and I had to do it from start to finish, and it was fun. It's a lot of fun. If I can give you guys any advice and you guys want to go, seeing that I don't need to just talk tax today, CIMA is a lot of fun. It is fun. It's strategic thinking. It's out of the box thinking. I would recommend it to anybody. I would rather recommend CIMA than CA. CA is because I started it. CIMA is because of the fun of it. The MBA journey, because I've got the NQF8 and it allows me to do a master's, and I was planning on I got into a master's at UCT for tax, and sadly I couldn't be there. I decided I'm rather just going to navigate to the MBA route because it was something on my mind. Started the journey, I thought it was going to be just another tick box. It's not. It's really thinking, it's stressful, it is a lot, it's intensive. So it's been a fun journey. It's also strategic thinking. So if you think you like strategy and you want to be in the CEO, CFO roles or a strategic role one day, I would recommend both CIMA as well as MBA for you.
That's very interesting advice and something that people need to think about. I also noticed on your LinkedIn profile you've completed a forward leadership program at McKinsey. What was that experience like, and would you recommend it to others?
It was insightful, but it's not personalized. I feel like there are 3,000 students in one session that they're taking in, so you don't get to network. Whereas my MBA, I know you asked your last interviewee also about his MBA. My MBA is all done online, and yet I've built so many connections with the people. It is amazing. Whereas for that forward leadership, there's no connections that I've built, and that is the sad part about it. Otherwise, I think McKinsey looks great on your CV.
Okay, no, that's honest advice, and I appreciate it. Let's switch over to questions from the audience. We do have a question. Not sure who the question is, but he says, "What advice would you give someone who's intimidated by the long route to CIPA or CIMA? How do you stay the way and keep focused?"
Guys, there's no, can I be honest with all of you?
Go for it.
There's
honestly.
no such a thing as a quick fix, we are not, I know you guys, we are living in a very instant money life. There's no such a thing as quick money. If you want to climb, I want to climb the corporate ladder. So I know so if you envision yourself wanting to climb the corporate ladder, just stick it through. It's 3 years max that you need to do. It's not that difficult. CIMA, you can do a full-time good earning job and still get the CIMA article signed off, whereas with the others you got to do a physical low earning salary articles. But I would just recommend you, and I know sometimes it's very, very hard and difficult, and we all can't afford to do that because some of us actually need to support our families. I've spoken to some of my peers that actually can't afford to pay to wait the 3 years because they need to physically help and support the family. I was fortunate enough not to be in that situation, but there's no other way. You need to also tell your family and have those conversations with them and advise them, listen here, this is going to be better for all of us if I just stick it through. Let's just as a unit, as a family, come together and agree that this is going to be 3 tough years, but let's just push it through.
I think that covers it. I think I don't see any more questions coming from the audience. Any last few words from you, or anything we didn't discuss that you'd like the audience to know?
Nothing. Nothing at this point. The only thing that I'm thinking of is, guys, there are some benefits to climbing the corporate ladder, and there's some benefits to and to starting your own thing. The one is not easier than the other. If you want to start a business, I've tried to start my own business. It's not as glamorous. It's not as beautiful as the pictures are always being painted. It's also the grafting work. You must also be willing to take a pay cut, work for yourself. Yes, you might have a bright idea, but it's not guaranteed income. So you've got to decide, do I want the guaranteed income every month that is going to be a salary, or am I going to want to actually just try my own thing, and then hopefully one day I blow up and have this massive thing? And it's depending on your personality, nothing else. So that's my side.
I think it's a good way to end, and some valuable advice for those out there. The show has been live on YouTube and should be available on podcast by tomorrow. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast and you feel that it's added value, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on that notification bell to get automatically notified when the next episode comes out. Godfrey, Thank you so much for your time.
Always, thank you for having me. Much appreciated.
Thanks everyone for joining us for another episode of Two Ways to Skin a Cat.